Good morning and welcome back to Margin. This morning I want to talk about part one of inspiration behind building margin into your life. So let's jump right into it. So growing up, my parents taught me that if I wanted something, I had to actually work for it. I had to go out and figure out how to make it happen. So there's no trust funds, no handouts, but there was a heavy dose of encouragement and support for me to go out and see those dreams and those aspirations I wanted to accomplish and figure out how to get there. So growing up, I figured out how to make money by arbitrage, by figuring out how to find things that were undervalued and add value to them by fixing them up and then selling them for the market value and finding that market that would value them for what I thought that they were worth. So this is how I grew up, and these are the things I did, especially before I was of the age that I could actually go out and get a normal job. So when I graduated high school, I went on to college. I started out in the architecture program and actually transferred over to business, especially in that time frame where it was post-recession. A lot of jobs hadn't come back to that field yet. So another passion of mine is operations and personal finance and corporate finance. And so with that, I got my undergrad in operational leadership and went on to do an accelerated MBA, and I did my master's in finance. During that process, the economy was in this weird place. It was recovering, but slowly. So throughout college, I actually worked a few different roles, a few different positions. I had the side hustle thing going on where I would do that value add arbitrage type of side hustle. But in addition to that, I actually had a analyst position that was kind of more or less my day job. Once I graduated, though, I graduated with my MBA in finance. And when I did graduate, I took a position in another state as a management analyst. And this was the first management level finance position I held. And it was a great opportunity to be able to exercise both that experience, but also that education that I had been working to achieve for, at that point, 5+ years. I basically paid my way through college with these side hustles, with my day job, but anything that wasn't covered by a grant or a scholarship or my day job, I then took on student loans to cover. And during that process, I wasn't real concerned about the debt, mainly because of the trajectory of that field and kind of what I thought I would be making out of school. And then as it escalated, what that looked like in a 5 to 10, 15 year time frame. So with that, I didn't really focus on the debt. I focused on the opportunity that I could have to grow my income. And so during that time, I switched jobs on average probably every 2 years or so in order to maximize not only the skill set, but also to maximize my pay to expedite that process. And not only to expedite that process to improve my quality of life, but also to expedite that process to hopefully pay down that debt faster. So during that time, although we had evidence of a coming recovery, we also had that fear of what they called a double dip recession. So that was a phrase that was used quite often, but really where we felt the most pain was around being an employee during that time. It was a great time to start a business, especially in light of how many businesses went out during that time. But as an employee, there was a great deal of uncertainty. And whether it was pay and how your pay would escalate over time, or whether it was companies trying to do more with less, whether it's putting more on the plates of their individual employees, or it was just the uncertainty of layoffs. And unfortunately, I experienced that. I moved out of state to go to a position that was my first management financial position, and experienced a layoff. And I realized quickly that no one's immune to this. That type of an occurrence in a business is just business. It's not personal, but no one is immune to it. So although that layoff was a humbling experience, it was also a great opportunity for me to learn what really was important to organizations, how I could add value, and ultimately what value I could focus on building and growing, so that the likelihood of being in the proverbial chopping block per se would be mitigated or at least reduced. And so moving on from there, I basically had this opportunity. I was like, okay, well, for the first time in my life, I'm not working multiple jobs. I don't have these side hustles going on because I'm in a brand new place. But I also didn't have my 9-to-5, and I didn't have school. So I had this weird convergence almost of feelings in regards to, I'm in this new season of life, and what do I want this new season to look like? So it forced me into a place where ultimately I could experience margin, and I saw the obligations of all those things go out the window. So for the first time, I was able to step out and have this downtime that was almost forced. And even though I was applying for positions, I was flying around to interview in different locations for the next role, it gave me some downtime to be able to explore some of the places that I had thought about exploring, but never had the margin to actually do. So at the time, I lived in North Lake Tahoe, which was in a little town called Incline Village. And if you've ever been up to Lake Tahoe, it is beautiful. It's up in the Sierra Nevadas. There's all kinds of ski resorts up there for the winter, but during the summer you have the lake to be able to paddleboard and to be able to wakeboard and so on and so forth. So during that time, I was able to paddleboard the lake itself. I was able to float the Truckee River. So I was able to drive down from Incline Village into California, where I explored Northern California. I was able to go to Napa Valley and Sonoma Valley and see kind of the rolling vineyards, the rolling hills of vineyards through there. I was also able to drive into the Salt Lake region of Utah and up into a really quaint little ski town called Park City. And then beyond that, I was able to explore the rolling hills and mountain ranges of the Rocky Mountains leading up into northern Colorado. And through that experience, I had a ton of time to think and a ton of time to review kind of how things had transpired in my life and what things I wanted to change going forward. And margin was one of those things constantly on my mind of, I want to live a life that I'm not just living to make a living. I wanted to live to make a life. And this is what led me into building what I call margin, which is being aware of your surroundings, being able to be engaged enough to know the needs of those around you and to be able to seize opportunities that come up, that arise because you're actually aware. And so oftentimes we get so caught up in our own needs, we get so caught up in our own goals and our aspirations that we don't look up to really see what's going on around us. We don't really get to experience and take in what's going on around us. So if this information is helpful to you, please do like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you're reminded of these episodes as they become available, and so that you can build in this routine into your daily routine to build margin over time in your own life.